Hello everyone, I made a system called CodeOptPro which helps with performance in Unity projects. I have been using this system in my projects, so I figured I'll make the system into a Unity package and share it with everyone. In this tutorial, I will show how to use it. Also, I have uploaded this tutorial project to my GitHub so that if you get stuck or I have failed to explain some points, then you can just download the project and check it for yourself. Also, I have added a discussion tab in the GitHub for discussing any updates, changes, or bugs of the project. Link in the description below. Alright, so let's get started. For this tutorial, I'm using Unity 3D version 2021.3.25 F1. First, we need to download the latest version of the CodeOptPro package, and in this case, it is stable version 1.0.0. Once the download is done, then we need to import it to our project. In Unity, first go to Assets menu, then go to Import Package and click the custom package to open it. Now find the folders in which CodeOptPro was downloaded, then select it and click the Open button. An Import Unity Package window will pop up. Make sure everything is selected and then click Import button. Once the import is done, a new menu will be created called Kamran Wali. Open it and then click CodeOptPro. This will open the CodeOptPro window. If you want to, then you can drag and dock it anywhere. Alright, now we need to set the scene up for CodeOptPro. Press the Scene Setup button in the CodeOptPro. You will notice a game object has been created called Managers, and if you click it, you will notice that there are two components already added to the game object. This means the scene has been set up for CodeOptPro and we can use it. This setup needs to be done for each scene for the CodeOptPro to work. Alright, so now let me show you how to use CodeOptPro. Create a new script called ColourChanger. Open the script. The first code we are going to add is to import the CodeOptPro. So right at the top, using kamranwali.codeoptpro.managers. Now we need to extend from MonoADV. You will notice that an error is being shown under the class name. That is because we need to implement the abstract methods. Depending on your IDE or code editor, just click on the error and select Implement Abstract Class. This will then populate your class with the abstract methods. The methods added here are AwakeADV and StartADV. These are the custom awake and start methods. They work almost similar to Unity's awake and start method, but the only difference is that these methods will even be called when the game object is inactive or hidden. Alright, let's add our color changing code here. First, we need the transform object to change color to. So let's add the field like this. Then we need a color field as well. Finally, we need a field to store the transforms object's material to. In the AwakeADV, we shall store the transforms materials reference into _mat, and in StartADV, we shall change the color of the transforms material like this. Alright, now let's go back to the scene editor. Let's add a game object and call it Cube Color Changer. Let's also add a cube 3D model. Now, let's add the script ColourChanger to the cube color changer like so. You will notice in the inspector that there is another extra field called Manager, which we did not add in our script. This field comes from MonoADV class and is needed for using the custom awake and start methods. So let's populate the fields, select the Manager field and select Default Manager Helper. Drag and drop the cube into the transform field. Finally, change the color to green. Now, play the game. You will notice the cube's material color becomes green, which means our code have worked. Another powerful feature of CodeOptPro is that you can decide which group of objects custom awake and start method will be called first. By default, there is one group added already called Default Manager Helper, which we used. So to test this, let's create another group. It is very easy to create another group. Just right-click the folder, then go to Create, CodeOptPro, Scriptable Objects, Managers, and then MonoADV Manager Helper. Click it and then name it Group 2. Now, select the Managers game object, add another component called MonoADV Manager, click the helper field of this newly added component and select the newly created group, which is the group 2. Now select the cube color changer, add another color changer component, and this time we will add the newly created group. The transform field will be the same cube again, and this time the color will be red. Now play the game. This time you will notice that the cube's material color has become red instead of green. This is because all the object's custom awake and start method in the default manager helper is called first, so the cube does get green, but then all the objects in group 2 is called, which turns the cube red. If we swap the places of the elements in the managers field and then play, this time the cube will be green because this time default manager helper is called last. Another really cool feature of CodeOptPro is that you can use the custom update method to save performance on update calls. Basically, what CodeOptPro does is that it shares one Unity's update method with multiple objects. So it seems like there are a lot of update methods in the game, but actually there are only few. Alright, so let's see how to use the custom update. First, let's create a script called MoveForwardLocal. Open up the script. Now import CodeOptPro by typing using Kamran Wali .codeoptpro.managers. Now extend the class from MonoADV_UpdateLocal and implement the abstract methods from the class. I have already explained how the awake ADV and start ADV works. Now let's talk about the three new methods, which are isActive, setActive, and updateObject. The isActive method is checked by the CodeOptPro's UpdateManager to see if the object's updateObject method will be called or not. If the isActive method returns true, then it means the object's custom update will be called. If it is false, then the object's custom update will not be called. Keep in mind, the custom update method will be called for inactive game objects as well if you don't give the game object active self-check. The setActive method just activates or deactivates the object, which in turn also controls if the custom update method should be called or not. Finally, the updateObject method is the custom method which works almost similar to Unity's update method. All update-related logic must be put in this method, just like how you would do in Unity's update method. Alright, so let's continue. First, we need to add the speed of the forward movement like this. For now, we can keep the awake ADV and start ADV methods blank. In the isActive method, let's use the game object's active state as the boolean to check if to call the custom update of the object. This means that if the game object is inactive, that is hidden, then the custom update will not be called. But if the game object is active, that is shown, then the custom update will be called. In the setActive method, let's just update the game object's active state like this. So basically, you can now call this method to hide or show the object's game object. Now let's add the logic for moving the object forward. In the updateObject method, let's move the object using transform translate like this. Alright, let me explain the code a little bit. When we extend from MonoADV_UpdateLocal, we also inherit the UpdateManager. The UpdateManager contains the correct calculated time needed for smooth transitions or updates for the custom update method. That is why we are calling UpdateManager.getTime instead of time.deltaTime. If we look into the getTime method, we can see that time.deltaTime is already part of the calculation. So now let's go back to the editor. Alright, now let's add a cube to the scene. Then add a new component to the cube called UpdateManagerLocal. Finally, add the newly created script, which is the MoveForwardLocal script. Now, let's fill up the properties for MoveForwardLocal component. The first one is to add the MonoADVManager helper, which is the object grouping, and in this case, we will add default manager helper. You can add any group you want. Then we need to add the UpdateManagerLocal. So let's drag and drop it to the field. Finally, make the speed 1. Now press play. You can now see the cube is moving forward, which means the custom update is working. Let's add another cube. add the MoveForwardLocal components, add the default manager helper group, then drag the UpdateManager local to the UpdateManager field again. This time, make the speed to 3, press play. Now you can see both of the cubes moving. Let me explain briefly what is happening here. Both the cube's MoveForwardLocal objects are being added to the UpdateManager local. The UpdateManager's update method is updating the custom update methods inside the MoveForwardLocal for the cubes. So basically, one update method is updating two custom update methods, which in turn saves a lot in performance. If you look at the UpdateManager local component, you can see that it too is part of the default manager helper group. You can also see the objects that are added to this update manager, which are the two cubes. The last field is the numUpdate field, which handles number of updates per frame. At the moment it is 1, which means it will call one object's custom update per frame. If you have too many objects inside the update manager, then making the value higher will help with any stutter issues. If making the numUpdate value higher does not solve any stutter issues, then I would suggest adding another update manager and add some objects to that. This update manager kind of makes your script coupled, and every time you want to add it, then you have to drag and drop it. This is okay for a small amount of objects, but when there are hundreds of objects, then it is kind of a hassle to do it this way. So to fix this issue, I created a grouping system for the update manager as well. So let's see how the grouping system works for update manager and how it decouples your script. Let's first make a script called MoveRotateGlobal, which will move an object forward and rotate it. Open up the script. Again, let's import CodeOptPro. Now we are going to extend from MonoADV UpdateGlobal class, import all the abstract methods. All of these methods works exactly like the MonoADV UpdateLocal. So for explanation on these methods, please go check out the timestamp being shown now. For this script, we are first going to add the movement speed like this, and then the rotation speed like this. Let's use the GameObject active boolean to check if to update the object or not, just like before. In the UpdateObject method, let's move the object using transformTranslate like before. Finally, let's rotate the transform in the y-axis like this. Again, remember to use UpdateManager to get time in your move and rotation calculation, otherwise it will give weird results. Save everything and let's go back to the editor. First, we need to add the UpdateManagerGlobal, which handles the grouping. Let's create a new game object inside the managers and call it UpdateManager1 or anything you want. Select the game object and add a new component called UpdateManagerGlobal. Now, if you look at the UpdateManagerGlobal, you will notice that it looks similar to UpdateManagerLocal, except the very last field called helper. This helper field is what groups the object to a specific UpdateManagerGlobal. By default group is added to the update manager, but we are going to see how to create a new group. Also, if you want to know what each field means, except the helper field in the UpdateManagerGlobal, then please check out UpdateManagerLocal for the explanation, which is exactly similar. To create a new Update Manager group, right-click any folder, then go to Create, CodeOptPro, Scriptable Object, Managers, and then select UpdateManagerGlobal Helper. Name it UM1. Now set the new group to the UpdateManagerGlobal by placing UM1 in the helper field like this. Let's create a new cube. Add script MoveRotateGlobal to the cube. This time in the Update Manager field, we will select the group we created like this. Give movement speed to 1 and rotation speed to 50. Now click the play button. Now you can see the cube going forward and rotating at the same time. The good thing about using UpdateManagerGlobal is that you can just add the grouping and it will start working and no need to go search where the update manager is and then dragging and dropping it. Now let me explain how CodeOptPro works. When you press the play button and just before the project enters play mode, CodeOptPro searches for all the MonoADV managers, update managers, MonoADVs, and MonoADV updates. Then it adds them to the MonoADVManager _ call, MonoADV managers and update managers. I try to make the system as autonomous as possible. Also, if you look at the CodeOptPro window, you can see you can enable or disable certain features. If you want to, you can disable the autonomous setup before entering the play mode. If you do disable it, then I have given the option to allow you to do manual setup instead by clicking the setup button here. I do recommend keeping auto setup enabled as this may reduce user-side mistakes. I have also given an autosave feature as well. This will save the project right before entering the play mode. So when CodeOptPro does its setting, once the setup is done, the autosave will save the setting. By default, I have disabled it, but I recommend enabling it so that you don't accidentally close the project without saving. Finally, there is another feature which allows CodeOptPro to remove any missing or null references. I recommend keeping this enabled as it will help with reducing any errors. The only reason I kept this as an option is because if the user for some reason wants to keep certain null references, then they can do so. Alright, that is it for this tutorial. I hope this system will be helpful to you all or at least one person. In future, I will add pooling system and performant-friendly way to use and share primitive data types. Take care and stay safe. Get out!